I got this. Okay. I got it. Okay.
I got some beers. Let's drink them, huh?
If you really want some film at 11, why don't you follow me down to the brewery? I'll tie a bowling ball to my ankle, dive in the vat of beer. I'll leave this world the same way I entered my marriage, dead drunk!
Hello?
Want a beer?
Hook it up!
Hey, hook me up!
Yo, Herb, take it from the top. 1, 2.
Beer?
This is how we do it.
My mic sound nice, check 1. My mic sound nice, check 2. My mic sound nice, check 3. Are you ready?
That's cute. I remember when I had my first beer.
You like parties? Yeah. We can invite all our friends and have soda and pie. Yeah! I hope no bad people show up.
My mic sounds nice, check 1. My mic sounds nice, check 2.
My mic sounds nice, check 3.
My mic sounds nice, check 4. My mic sounds nice, check 5.
My mic sounds nice, check 6.
Are you ready?
You want some of this milk? Rather have a beer.
What do you guys give me if I kill that bird? Barbara, that's a bald eagle. Get away, Baldy! Yeah!
Oh! What up? What up? What up? This is the word of my Pete and Steve, my Pete and Steve, my Pete and Steve. GubsRadio.com, live here on Facebook, on YouTube, and on our home station, as always, GubsRadio.com. Don't give us a call at 516-465-3990 or 516-513-0515. You won't reach us. We're not in studio, as usual, as per the last 3 months. But thanks a lot for everyone for joining us. Again, go over to Facebook and YouTube or our home base and check out all of our podcasts on GubsRadio.com. We are part of a much bigger network of other awesome shows, and we got some big things coming up for Gubs Radio, so stay tuned over the next few months for those. Let's get into some sponsorships really quick. We have one of our sponsors again here today, Nick from Rosies Draft Solutions. He's up there in the Brady Bunch format. He's over to my right, I guess, if you want to call it. He's what? He's not Marsha. Jan? He's Jan. He is Jan tonight.
I didn't know that.
Paul, you're Alice. Don't laugh it up yet.
All right.
Tonight, we are sponsored by VintageBeerShirtClub.com. Go to VintageBeerShirt.com for all of your vintage beer shirt needs. Has a lot of cool old-school beer labels and logos. And, yes, they are all licensed. I found that out because I was doing copyright law with my students this week and looked into some of that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, he's got the licensing for all those old logos. So go to VintageBeerShirtClub.com and get your vintage beer shirt today. We are also sponsored by Brewers Hardware. Our buddy Will, like I said last time, re-upped and has sent us out some really cool stuff to give away to our guests. And we're going to continue with them. They're awesome and they do great things. Go to Brewers Hardware for all your hardware needs. Stuff for your tanks and stuff for your bright tanks and your tubing and all that other good stuff. So brewershardware.com. Check it out. We're also sponsored by Brewbag. Our buddy Scott from Brewbag sent out our Brewbag set. It will be here tomorrow.
Nice.
I bought mine
Did you?
on Saturday.
Nice. Yeah,
Yes.
he's backlogged. He told me, but he said I'll try to get yours out ASAP. So Harrison Ford is here. We're getting our Brewbag, and we will be taking pictures with that very, very soon. Thanks a lot for Scott and Brewbag. Go to brewbag.com, or better yet, what you should do is go over to our Instagram. We have now linked the Wort site to Brewbag. So our Brewbag site for our promo code is there. Did you follow it, Steve?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, it's not that very hard to go and
Not
click
at all.
into our link tree and just go in there and do it. So go
And the
to...
discount is right in there as soon as you put in your info.
Yeah, it's all built to the site, so that's awesome. So go to Brewbag, I think it's brewbagsomething.com, brewbaginc.com, whatever it is, or just go through our link on our social media and you'll find it and get yours today. Thanks again, Scott, for coming on board with us. Also, Tavor, go to Tavor for your beer shipped to your door. Tavour.com. Type in the promo code WART to receive percentage off your order and get beer delivered straight to your door. We're also sponsored by taphandles.com. Tap Handles sponsored our awesome little tap handle adapters. We also want to mention Jeff Hartwell, Hartwell Woodshop out in Patchogue, does some awesome rich mahogany tap handle adapters like I have one up here. And then, of course, and I hit the post, we have our buddy Nick from Rosies Draft Solutions coming on board. A lot of new sponsorships this year because we had nothing else to do but to go out and just ask people to hang out and be part of the show. But Nick actually was brought on and recommended by our buddy Mark over at Hopscotch, correct?
Yeah. I met Mark a couple months ago and introduced me to you guys. So
awesome.
So thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for listening. I appreciate you being part of this. Yeah, we're trying to promote local businesses and anything that has to do with the craft beer industry. And you are a local business here on Long Island, specializing in line cleaning, in service, in equipment, in pretty much anything needed. And I told, Steve, I told you last week that you're going to be doing the read because you know so much. All of a sudden, you started going into the laundry list of things that you did for the brewery and what last-minute jockey boxes and all that other good stuff that's needed for a brewery when you're, every day having to serve out of your tasting room and or travel to multiple sites for multiple beer fests happening at the same time. That's never fun to have 5 jockey boxes on hand. But if you need one in a pinch or you need anything else, and Nick, we talked about even your home brew service. So I see, Nick, you have a tap system back there.
Yeah.
I installed this one myself, and
Nice.
It worked great. But I haven't used it in quite a while because I've not had enough people to come over and drink a keg of beer before it got bad. So I've been sticking with the cans and whatnot. But this thing, I love having a draft system right here in my house.
It is nice, especially for times like this. Honestly, like you just keep it going for the whole.
Just stick your face under that tap.
And Pete has a kegerator. You have a kegerator, right?
Yeah.
A single pull, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're really, nice. It's a good, I want to say luxury, but it is very nice to have it here in the basement or wherever you're going to go. But it's not just, slated just for that. So tell us a little bit about what else Rosie's brings to the industry, both on a commercial level and on a personal level.
Yeah, definitely. So just a little intro. My name's Nick. I started this business only almost a year now. Me and my father, family owned, right here in Patchogue. My father retired, so he needed a little something to do. And I have the beer experience. I work full time for a brewery, and kind of gained some experience from that in draft quality, and just taking some courses with the Brewers Association, looking at some feeds with the Master Brewers of Americas, all that kind of good stuff, and kind of just learned my way through draft systems over the past few years, and kind of thought, hey, I think there's definitely a need here in New York. A lot of states, honestly, your beer distributors will be responsible for your draft lines, but in New York State, there's no regulations on that. It's pretty much just up to the bars to be in good faith and get it done.
Some of them just don't.
Exactly.
That seems optimistic.
It really is.
Well, consider this: how many breweries, go through a keg and then put a different style on that line, and it's a packed place, and people demanding it. What would be a solution to run some, just at least tap water through it, just to do something in the meantime. But there is also times where it's not like that a kind of emergency. They know that they're going to put a different style on that line, and so they should go through the proper process, right?
Yeah, and you want to know what the thing is now is you got all different stuff. You're not just drinking ales and lagers anymore. You have these styles that are heavily fruited, heavily, soured and everything, and they're really tainting at these lines, and you get a lot of carryover now as opposed to when you did. Yeah, Steve. Yeah.
I had at least 3 lines that I'm like, those can never be anything but what those beers are, because
pretty much
just the flavoring alone will never come out of those lines unless they change the actual lines themselves.
Were they all dark beer, Steve?
Yeah, it was Yada and Tribal Cow, and I forget what one of the other ones. But yeah, those were like.
So Snickers bars didn't.
No, especially put an IPA on there. It's.
Well, yeah, you don't want to kind of cross-contaminate. But the other thing is, I mean, don't, and stop me if I'm wrong, Paul and Kev, doesn't most breweries keep their standard beers, their house beers, their regular ones on the same line, and they just kind of stick with that for a while? And then every month or a couple of weeks, they do the cleaning just to make, nice beer taste nicer?
We clean our lines every 2 weeks, actually.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And then like an acid wash every quarter, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, our Pilsner line has been our Pilsner line for, 3 years coming up in August. That's always been Pilsner.
Yeah, and you don't really change that often. But it's the other ones, the rotating taps that really...
Yeah, and there's been times where, we've had to make a game time decision, like, the smoked lager, smoked Helles is coming off, like, we should probably not put something else on and wait. It's Sunday at 9:00 at night. Like, the lines are getting cleaned on Tuesday. We're closed on Monday. Like, let's wait and get that line clean.
Maybe not throw a stout on there or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? If you're keeping up with it on that 2 week schedule, which is the recommendation from the BA, like, you probably won't see that carry over as much. Yeah, maybe you'll see it like the first few pints. So you got to run a little bit through, but you'll probably be good if you're staying on that schedule. But yeah, that's a big one now, and it's a game changer for all these craft breweries is putting lines on bars on Long Island and the city, and they're not taking care of their draft lines as the brewery is intending that their beer should taste. They're hoping that their beer is going to taste the same as it left the brewery. And then if these bars don't keep up with their draft lines, their beer tastes bad. Their customers are like, "What the hell?"
Yep.
Yeah. So
nothing worse than to go into a bar and you have your own beer and it doesn't taste like your beer.
Right.
And
that'd be my question.
Ask, hey, when was the last time you had these lines cleaned? And they go, "What?"
Clean.
That's worst feeling.
Paul, Kevin, so do you guys ever send anybody out to a local establishment to kind of just get the temperature of how the beer held up, or what would be from the brewery standpoint, what you guys are doing
drinkers,
for
as it were.
I mean, just keep up quality control, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, between network of friends and family and employees and our sales team and just, everybody that we know kind of out there, that certainly people would let us know if that's the case. It's certainly kind of a touchy subject, right? Because you don't want to go into someone's house or their, something they take pride on. So there's creative ways, to go about it. And it's more of the education than like, we're never going to sell our beer here again kind of thing. It's more of, hey, this is out there. This is something that, maybe you should look into. And, that's kind of the approach we've taken. Luckily, we really haven't had any serious issues with that. And, the bars that we've encouraged, like, it might be a good idea, that most are extremely responsive when they find out that it's, as affordable as it is. And, bars, anything that they're spending is difficult sometimes, but if you can explain to them how much better their beer will pour and how much more beer they'll get out of the keg and all these things with a properly conditioned temperature and carbonation and all that, they tend to, their ears, perk up and they're like, oh, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
So,
Nick,
but it's all about education.
Do you find, of course, do you find that a tough sell to bars and restaurants as opposed to obviously some of the true craft beer bars and breweries that you might service? Is it a harder sell to them than the people that know beer well?
It really is, because you want to know what it is. It's really just the education. And it's not that I blame the bar owners. They have how many other things that they have to worry about at the bar. Right. But it really is, I got to take a little bit of time to try and explain to them and understand and let them understand how they're going to profit off of doing this line cleaning more often than they are now, and how it's going to pay off in the long run. It does take time, and sometimes the bar owners aren't have the time to really sit down with me and just go over that kind of stuff. So that is one struggle I definitely have on my side of things, but I'm just pushing through. I'm trying to find and learn new ways to educate these bars, and I'm learning as I go. Right. I got definitely a lot of stuff in the works besides draft cleaning, service and equipment. definitely I'm working right now on the education part. I think that's a big
just gonna ask you
that. Yeah. I got some stuff in the works right now, and I hope it's gonna go over well with the bars on Long Island. But I think I'm trying to put together a good program for not only just educating bar owners, but also a small program for their bartenders who are serving your guys' craft beer. Just, general basics, something that they can use as a reference for when they're trying to sell your beer at the bar.
It makes sense. It seems like the natural progression towards what would be the next phase to get people, more educated and more aware of what's going on in the lines, what's going on, the day-to-day, the week-to-week, even the quarterlies. I don't think too many bars, as being a bartender for 20 years, I'm sitting there screaming after the kegs change, we should run something through this.
Right.
That was not something we should have done. And, I get overruled as the bartender, low man on totem pole. But I knew that first poll, or second or fourth, or how bad it was contaminated, is not going to be the same as what it was intended to be. Mind you, it's probably like Sam Adams, but still, it was not the intention of Sam Adams to have it taste like that either.
For sure. And, if you've been drinking craft beer, even if you're not, you go to that bar, the bar that you always go to, and you get that pint, and that's something, you know when it's off, when that line has not been cleaned. You're not just thinking that in your head, oh, this might be a weird batch. It's 100, I would say 90% chance that it's the bar itself, draft system. The brewery is not going to send out beer that they don't believe is going to last for that shelf life, right?
Right.
They're putting out product that they know is going to extend that shelf life, just because they know it's going to sit at that bar maybe a little bit longer at times. Times like this right now, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of part of it as well.
And that's a big deal, because as I was putting into the story about the coupon code that you offered people through our show to get 10% off service, I was saying, thinking to myself, well, this is the time. Some of these bars and restaurants are opening up for the first time in 2 or 3 months. Now's the time. Really last week was the time, but now's the time if you're going to serve beer to clean your lines. You had downtime. You should have taken advantage. Were you busy these last 2 weeks?
I'm getting slammed now.
All right, good.
And that's part of the problem too. Is sometimes it's the last thought. You got a lot of other stuff to worry about, especially in this pandemic. You got to get hand sanitizer ready. You got to figure out your outdoor seating and all that kind of stuff. But these last 2 weeks for sure have been pretty busy. Got those last minute phone calls.
Yeah, that's good.
Good.
And so is it a lot of the very hyper local places that you're doing, or how far is your reach with the business?
Right now, I'm just staying in Suffolk and Nassau.
Okay.
I haven't ventured out too far of that yet. I do have a little bit of service in Westchester, but I've been staying out in New York City right now.
Yeah, the travel I would imagine would kind of affect things.
But I have one tech out in Westchester.
And what do you think your overall percentages are of breweries or beer bars versus regular, commercial bars?
I'm probably at 25%. I'm sorry, probably a little less. 20% breweries right now. I've been at a couple breweries. A lot of the breweries have, they have their own internal cleaning programs, but I've gone into a few where I do a deeper clean for them. Just to, help them out. And a lot of times they're busy as well. They're brewing beer and all that stuff. So I'll get on a deep clean schedule with them where I'll come in every 3 months and I'll do their caustic and acid cycle and get those lines really cleaned up.
Now, do you also do the lines for the tanks and all that other good stuff as well? Is it beyond just tap lines?
As in on the brewery side?
Yeah.
No, I stay out of that side. Yeah, that's for the brewers. Okay. They should have that all figured out.
Let's go into. Sorry, again, Steve. What's up?
No, yeah, you're going to be also doing at home. You're going to be able to set up kegerators and things like that for people.
Oh yeah, the beginning of this quarantine, that was a big thing. People pulling out the old, pulling out
those old kegerators.
Oh yeah, pulling it out of the basement. Hasn't been ran in a couple of years. Got dust and mold on the line. So I've been doing a lot of line change outs for the kegerators, getting them fresh lines, and a couple people need new actual faucets on their kegerator and things like that. But,
solid, they just
rusted. Yeah.
Now tell me if I'm doing it right, because I could be taking away some trade secrets. But before I shut this down, since it's been shut down, I took a keg. I have a cycling 2 or 3 kegs that I go through, and I actually opened the keg. I took the spout out. I don't know what the technical term for it is. The spear, sure. And I filled it up with water, and then I did a sanitizer in there, closed it back up, sealed it back up, and then ran it through that line into another empty keg. Basically, just all the lines got the sanitizer through it, and then I ran regular tap water through that afterwards, and then close it down. Would that be a proper way to do it, or is there a better way to do it? Better chemicals, better solutions?
Yeah, ideally you have the concept correct. Depending on are you trying to just shut down the system pretty much for the season maybe, or you're not going to use it for a long time?
Yeah,
maybe?
I was planning on not using it for a little while, so that was kind of like a winterization, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, that's fine. So the best practice, and this is based off the Brewers Association, would be to do a caustic cycle first. And it's pretty similar to the brewery side. You guys have Five Boroughs, like it's the same thing as cleaning a tank. You'll do your caustic cycle on that line. So you'll put a caustic solution. There's a few brands out there, or you can do PPW, to be honest. But there's a few brands, TM Tasana, there's a Alpha Chemical. They have a good one. A lot of them are color changing too, so they tell you when the line is clean, which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
So that's awesome. So you'll run that caustic cycle through at a 2% solution.
Okay.
Get that sit. Usually when you're just using it through the keg, you'll let it sit for 15 minutes, let it soak. Then you'll swap over to water, like you said. You'll do a tap water rinse. On my end, I'll check the pH, make sure it's back to neutral from the caustic solution, and then from there, you actually don't want to leave that sitting in water just in case something was still stuck in there. It's gonna create growth over a long time.
Got it.
Yeah, actually, the best thing would be is to just shoot it out with some CO2, and then you're good to go.
I didn't do that, so I probably should end up doing that at one point, or just re-cleaning it again and then do that at the final.
Yeah, and that's what some people do. They'll kind of just clear. Some people will just clear the line out, do a regular cleaning, and then just do a nice little sanitizer before they tap their keg. Yeah.
Now, Steve was getting into a little bit of the equipment, and I'm kind of interested in this. So, are you building systems? Are you selling them, reselling them? Like, how is that hardware part of the business working?
Yeah, for sure. We do installs. We do installs for new bars looking to upgrade. You want a new tower, you want a fancy tower. We work with some really good vendors. We work with the high quality stuff. We work with Micromatic. We work with Perlick. And then I also have a really good vendor that I just secured is Canadian Beverage Supply, and they have actually some really good stuff. They actually supply some stuff to Micromatic. So I've been working with them, and on the equipment side, it really is installs, replacements of old equipment. I've been having a lot of people are trying to get their outdoor areas ready to go, and some people are by the water. You got salt issues from not having stainless taps and things like that. So I'm doing a lot of replacements on that kind of stuff and equipment that had been outside and exposed. But yeah, I also get special pricing on equipment for home bars, for brewery tap rooms, for bars, all that good stuff for sure.
Now, what is like the number one thing besides service, I guess, in the equipment line that you are dealing with? What is the most popular thing that people are asking for? Obviously, let's say inside of quarantine, it's going to be a kegerator, but let's say outside of that in the last year or so.
Yeah, besides doing the line cleanings, our second part of our business, majority wise, would be changing lines out, changing tubing out. The jumper cable is pretty much considered in a bar setting is from the cooler to the regulator. So I'm sorry, from the keg to the regulator. So that particular line would be the one that would be required to change out the most.
Okay.
From from the regulator to the tap line at a bar is usually a harder plastic. It's a different type of plastic, and it's a lot more narrow. And that one doesn't require to be changed as often. The one just from the keg to the regulator is usually that regular vinyl one that we use in our kegerators as well. So those are the ones that don't last as long. They're usually are recommended to be changed out within 2 years, and that's if you've been doing your cleanings regularly.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you haven't, you'll start to see that beer stone build up. It'll start creating a yellow color like the beer itself on the inside of the tubing, and it won't be as see-through as it used to be. So if it starts creating that means you got to change that out. You're building up inside that vinyl tubing. So that would probably be the second part of our business for sure.
And that is an obvious thing. Like, you can see that because a lot of those tap lines are visible from underneath the bar or, coming out of the regulator. So you'll be able to see very quickly whether those lines are yellowing up, like you said.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so what else besides the service and the equipment and, like you said, the education are you trying to focus on? Where's the company headed? Is it just trying to keep up right now, or we're looking to expand and get bigger?
We're trying to just keep up right now during this crazy time. We'll see what happens when this lets off. How many of these accounts we'll stick on a recurring schedule and stuff. But I'll give you guys a little insider. I'm trying to start a nice program, and it's going to help with the bar creating a good PR for their customers, and also for the public knowledge to know that these bars have clean taps. I'm working on a clean tap certification program for these bars. Yeah, and basically what it will be is some sort of decal that will either be on their tap tower or at their business front door on a decal.
Locals to locals.
For similar, yeah.
Is it kind of like the good beer seal?
Yeah, similar to that for sure. So what we'll do is we'll go in, even if we're not doing the regular cleanings for the bar, we'll still go in and do an audit of these bars and make sure that I would feel comfortable drinking a beer at this establishment. So we'll have a checklist. They'll have to meet a criteria. And if they meet that criteria, they'll receive our seal, basically.
Yeah.
And we'll give that to them for a 6-month term, because within 6 months, a lot can happen to those draft lines.
Yeah.
And after that, we'll do another inspection and just get them on a 6-month schedule. So that's what's to come. I hope it works out well, and I think it'll go over with the craft beer lovers a lot to know that these taps have been cleaned and it was certified by a technician who's familiar with draft lines,
Bars in the city, not to interrupt, but there's a couple, I know Top Hops in the city, they write like on the draft line, they'll be like line cleaned, 425,
nice.
So they listed all of their beers and all the draft lines,
And I love seeing that. I hate going to that sports bar that I love going to that has 100 beers on tap, and I want one, but I know it wasn't poured in about who knows long. That one line, So those are the struggles, but I think this will be a good program for the public knowledge and also for the bar reputation as well. So it should go over well.
Yeah, it's because as a consumer, I definitely want to know that what I'm drinking actually is as fresh as it can be, so I get the ultimate experience. Steve?
I mean, I know just from working with you guys, you definitely did a great job. You did things for us. You found things that we didn't even know we had wrong with our system, and we appreciated that because you were honest about it and you took care of it. And that's what any brewery, bar, restaurant would want, is someone that would point something out that is going to be a detriment to, what they're trying to sell. And definitely, I know I've recommended you guys to, as many breweries as I can, because you guys are right up front and you did such a great job. And
that's much appreciated. Thank you, Steve.
And you were right on time too. Every 2 weeks, you're like, all right, you ready? We'll come this day. We'll come this day. So
mess around.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
Nick, give us a big plug here. Tell us everything you can about the company so people get in touch with you. Like I said, we posted in our social media, the coupon code and obviously your information. We'll continue to do that along the way here. And anything new event-wise that you're doing or any new features, just send it our way so we can post it for you as well. But you give us your end of the information, contact info.
Yeah, for sure. So if you're looking for services with Rosies Draft Solutions, whether it's scheduled line cleanings, we do every 2 weeks. We'll come in and we'll do a scheduled line cleaning. We'll email you before we come just to make sure you're okay with the date. And then we do quarterly acid cleanings. That will make sure that your jumper lines and your whole tap system is going to stay good in the long term. You can reach out to us at rosiesdraftsolutions.com. We're on Instagram at Rosies Draft Solutions, and just reach out to us there, and we'll work with you, get you a quote. Right now, I'll be offering for the extent of our relationship here at the Wort, which I hope will continue on the years to come. 10% off to anybody who mentions the promo code Wort. So that's 10% off of any regular scheduled line cleanings, equipment, and emergency maintenance. And come reach out to us. You can reach me at our phone number is on our Instagram and website. You can give me a call.
And there's definitely emergency service, right? So if something happens, you guys are on call pretty much all the time, right?
Yeah, for sure. We're ready to go, especially we're ready to go. And a lot of times it'll be I'll hear a line popped, tubing popped. We'll get you going. You're pumping out the beers. You want to make sure that you're getting that keg emptied out by the end of the night.
Nice.
If you're
nothing sounds better than an empty keg rattling around in the back there, right?
Yeah, great.
Nick, I really appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot for coming on and telling us all about it. Again, thanks for the being part of the relationship that we've established. And again, same thing. We hope to have it moving forward in the future as well, because we have a lot of fun. And I know you've listened to the show, and we just love hanging out with people. So you're going to be a dude we're going to be hanging out with a lot. I have a feeling when we finally can get out of our house.
I'll definitely hang out for a little bit today. But I definitely appreciate you letting me on the show and talk a little bit. But definitely. Thanks again, guys.
Invited anytime, Nick, man. Whenever you feel like jumping on and talking about something new, making announcements, whatever, anytime.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
All right, so this is the Word Mike and Pete. We're not going to take a break like we normally do in our first 40 minutes. And Steve, and dude, I'm telling you, Pavlov's dog. 2.5 years, Steve. 2.5 years. Steve, I got the new posters. You see the new posters?
Well.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You have one. And we all have one now. Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding. I was just being very sorry. I could see it above you. Anyway, now we want to turn to Steve. Yes, and see, it's there. I promise. It's not just a fake thing. Yeah, there it is. We have our buddies Paul and Kevin from Five Boroughs Brewing Company over in, and I forgot where it was because that's right, this is in Brooklyn, but I was trying to think of the streets.
Brooklyn in the
47th. House. And we have a lot to talk to you about because there is some big changes happening in New York State. You guys opened up today, correct?
Was it?
New York opened up today. You've been open to go and all that other fun stuff.
I'll say the commute today was twice what it was last week.
Really? Well, that's a big deal, yeah. A lot more.
But still probably half as much as it was in December.
Correct.
Paul, Kevin, give us a little background about you guys, and then, of course, send us on a little journey about how Five Boroughs came to be and where they are at today. Send us through that journey.
Paul, you want to go first, and then I'll...
Yeah, sure. I can do that quick. Kevin can give you the journey part. So I am the accounting manager for Five Boroughs. I started there in January.
Much more than that.
Yeah. Well,
but that's his title.
Whatever else has to happen. Yeah. I believe it was January of last year. So, about almost a year and a half already, which is crazy. And I had come out of a really long career in contract food service, event hospitality, like companies that run stadiums and arenas, things like that.
Did you work for
sold a lot of hot dogs? A competitor. Yeah.
Okay.
Same kind of company.
Got it.
And I was doing it for a long time, really long time. Like I said, 17 years. And when I started with that company, my first boss with them had started kind of getting me into craft beer. Actually, he kind of introduced me. And this was probably 2001, 2002. Introduced me Sierra Nevada and a couple, there weren't many breweries, and he was from Nashville, so he knew Yazoo and all that kind of stuff. And then a little brewery called Blue Point came along, wanting to sell their beer at the stadium I worked at. And I met Mark and Pete, and I actually went to work for them in the off seasons. So that kind of, got me into craft beer, and I could kind of tell it was there to stay. And then I took the next 15 years doing the corporate thing, and always wanted to get back to it. And then this opportunity came up, and I was like, yeah, let me throw my hat in a ring, and we'll see what happens. And that's how I came to be at Five Boroughs.
I remember when you got the job.
Yeah.
You were quite excited.
Yeah. I mean, it was a big change. I know Pete was saying before, he's been working from home for 8 years, and I had also, for the last 7 years, I was working from home. But I was just missing interaction and leaving my house for just have I was either traveling or in my office, and neither of which was very exciting after a while. But this was something, I figured this was the time to do it. The opportunity was there. It was a good fit. Whereas they were making some system changes, which is something that for the last 2 years of my prior job, I was actually developing an inventory and accounting system for the company I work for. Finished that up, and just basically jumped into a pretty similar project, moving over to Five Boroughs. I met with my boss a couple times, Keon, our CFO. Got along really well, and kind of had the same vision for how to wrangle all of this in, and that's where we're at. Yeah.
I was writing some notes down, and one of the things that I've been getting better with this, because I always have follow-up questions, but I forget. Yeah, it's my glasses. Every time they clank together, Pete looks around like, is that a doorbell?
No, I feel like I heard a child hit the floor upstairs.
Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah.
In your house, that could happen.
Yeah.
So I've been getting better at writing down notes because
If it
I
happens
forget.
in my house, you're drunk.
Oh,
That's-
right. Okay. Mine
I
better
have
be.
notes.
Otherwise,
Same thing could be happening upstairs for all I know right now.
Right. They'd just be raiding your beer fridge. Cracking open the last crowler of Barrage that you've been savoring for that last moment of the day.
Oh, it's gone.
All right.
I'm all out of Barrage.
Paul,
Yeah,
so when they hired you, they also got your system, right? So how important was that as part of the hiring process? Were you able to?
That system was for the other. For the
yeah, but couldn't
company
you didn't adapt it to kind of meet the needs?
No. We actually moved with a well-known system in the industry called Orchestrated Beer, which is really an SAP add-on essentially.
Okay.
And it manages all facets of procurement, production, scheduling, all that kind of stuff. The accounting side of it. It is insanely. There's just a ton of depth to it. It's really whatever how much work you want to do it. The more you put in, the more you can get out. And it's a beast. I mean, anything that works on SAP is not really known to be particularly user friendly, but it's a great system for a brewery of our size and a brewery that is growing. It can really grow with the brewery. I mean, it's the system that large commercial brewers use to manage their brewery. So.
And the other thing I was going to comment on is you went from corporate, but then you said you were working at home. So I said, you traded in your shirt and tie for the hoodie and the boots.
Yeah.
But if you're working from home, it's pretty much the same sweatpants like Pete wears every day.
Gym shorts.
Gym shorts.
I still have to do a kind of ceremonial burning of all my button-down shirts.
Yeah.
I'd like to do.
Kev, give us a little background about you and how you became part of Five Boroughs.
Yeah, so I am the co-founder or one of the co-founders and COO at Five Boroughs.
I know I've met you somewhere, Kev. I don't know where it is.
Believe me, I get that a lot. I used to bartend on McLean Avenue in Yonkers. That's where most people think they recognize me from. But I guess my first craft beer experience, I would say, I was actually talking to my college roommate the other day. We joked about how, we would buy a 30-pack of Bud Light and a 6-pack of Sierra Nevada for our weekends. Basically all we could afford. But Sierra Nevada, I definitely remember being the first beer in that kind of vein that I ever had. And always kind of had a bug for it. Started to drink less and less of the macros and figure out ways to afford to drink more of the nicer stuff throughout college. And then after, did a lot of different things after college, including bartending. I worked as an EMT in Westchester, taught 6th grade for 1 year, and realized that was not the way to go. And then took my EMS background and got hired into the corporate world and worked at UBS for a few years, financial services, and then I worked at CBRE, commercial real estate company, doing emergency management and crisis management and and things of that. And that's at UBS is where I met my now co-founder, Blake. He worked on the more finance investment banking side. I worked on the operations side at UBS, but we definitely shared a passion in craft beer and used to go out to craft beer events in the city and just always kind of talked about it as more kind of, a joke, like what's the next brewery that's going to open and this and that. And he was an amateur home brewer. He brewed in his dorm room in college. He can tell you the story about that, but that he didn't end up being a home brewer in college because they confiscated all his equipment. But he always had a bug for the brewing side. And, we just talked about it for a while and he finally came up and said, I want to quit my job and start a brewery. And I'm like, okay, sounds great. Go ahead and do that. And he said, yeah, but I want you to do it with me. This was 6-7 years ago, probably. And I didn't really know what that meant at the time. And we kind of joked about it. And I thought it was more of just like a hobby. And the more we talked about it and the more we spent time, telling other people about it. And people were just kind of like, I think you guys really have something. The whole idea was, there wasn't a brewery that was trying to be New York City's brewery, right? I mean, obviously there were some great breweries, Brooklyn Brewery and Six Point, and all these folks were kind of paving the way, but they were called Brooklyn Brewery, or they were called the Bronx Brewery. No one was really trying to be New York City's brewery, and when the name came up, it just kind of sounded so perfect, and we knew it was going to be a challenge, and knew we needed to make a ton of beers, different styles. We know we needed a big facility to make all that beer because we didn't want to be the beer that you couldn't get your hands on if you're trying to be New York City's brewery and not not have the beer available or out there. So it kind of shaped our whole kind of plan from the beginning of what's the facility we need to find, the size, the team we want to build. All that stuff. So August will be our 3-year anniversary.
Wow. Nice.
Which
I thought you were around a little longer than that because
feels a lot longer. But,
you guys were almost immediately distributing, right? Right when you
we did. We again, another decision we made was to come out of the gate with a distributor.
Yeah.
We did our first year just about New York City only.
Okay.
And then our second year, so this past year, we opened up Westchester and Long Island.
Yep.
And Rockland and Putnam, but that, kind of core, I'd still say, 95, if not more % of our beer is sold in New York City in the 5 boroughs. So our first year did just about 5,000 barrels in New York City. 2019, we did 10,000. So we doubled after our second year. And, we're certainly seeing some reduction towards our goals for 2020, but
really, why?
But our cans are certainly, that's been really important for this last few months, having cans and being able to be in grocery stores and the places where folks are looking to get beer. And we sent some beer out to Wort for the first time. And
you did use to Wort. Okay, good.
Yeah, we sent our beer called Dimey Nickel, which was actually a collaboration we did with Fifth Hammer Brewing Company in Long Island City.
Oh, nice.
Love that. Chris is the balls.
He's great. So and then we're we've got beer at Tap Room, which is another kind of distributor that sends beer to people's homes.
Our buddy Paul from Ghost has been like on the commercial Instagram feed for Tap Room, and every single picture from Tap Room is freaking Paul's Ghost, and I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah,
I know that guy.
I know that guy. I know that guy. And I mean, these things have absolutely helped the breweries out because they,
without a doubt,
definitely extend the reach, obviously, but also it's a revenue stream, right? I mean, it's the ability to sell large quantities because they usually do want a large amount of beer to get out there. Yeah, pallets.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of places that, some of the bigger accounts that we have, that the first question is, are you going to run out? And it's Costco, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, places like that.
Yeah.
Costco launched, I mean, it was incredible timing, but in like December or January, they launched a program at 3 stores where they're doing 16-ounce cans. And we got selected as one of the 4 breweries, I think, that got selected for those. And I mean, they're buying, 80 to 100 cases.
Who are the other 3? Who are the other 3?
You're going to put me on the spot. Barrier.
Okay.
Barrier, Five Boroughs. Feel bad that I'm not going to.
Nah, don't worry about it. I wasn't trying to. I was just interested to see who could keep up with the production of that much beer, right? I mean, just to see who's in that same class. We'll say.
Now, what size system are you guys brewing on right now?
We have a 30 barrel. So our fermenters we have a few 30s, a few 60s, and then last year before we started doing cans, we brought in 120 barrel fermenters. So
wow.
And you have your own canning line.
We have our own canning line. Yep. Basically canning at this point, 5 days a week.
Awesome.
We were.
Is that like 95% of your beers going on in cans?
Yeah. I mean, we filled kegs last week for the first time in a couple months. We put our summer ale in the kegs last week. A couple accounts that are starting to open up. So we're starting to see that accounts are looking to get draft beer again, which is exciting. So we're starting to peel off, a little bit here and there just to get a little bit of an inventory going. Nice. That's what I'm drinking as well.
Nice. I have a question. Really, just go back for a second. So, did your college roommate have the 150 barrel system in the college room?
That was no. That was Blake Brewing his probably 5-gallon system in his dorm room.
What's interesting is, and I got in trouble in college quite often. Hence the reason why I came home and went to school. I got put on double secret probation. #FreeGrass. And I got sent back home. And I remember reading the rules like every word. And I actually did think about this in my second college where I got in a lot of trouble, that there wasn't anything in there that said you couldn't have home brewing equipment. Now, obviously, by the time it gets to be beer, now you can get in trouble. But having the ingredients, having the, if you had a kitchenette, you could have an open flame, obviously. You couldn't do that otherwise. But besides having the final product in your room, there's not much else in those laws that say you can't have hops in your room. You can't have grain. You can't have a boiling pot of water. I mean, what's...
I won't say what college Blake went to, but I will say that the code of conduct was rewritten after Blake went there. So.
As it should be.
For exactly the things you just mentioned.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. And I'm sure it kind of moved on through other colleges as the craft beer scene, got bigger and bigger, because now kids could just be brewing their own beer in 2 weeks, have their own, set, and then that's it. It's funny.
Fake ID or anything.
Nah, forget it. You could be a freshman.
Make your own.
Making 5-barrel batches and putting it under the bed. So you guys, you're talking about your reach and the amount of beer that you're brewing, and one of the things that we see locally, as you said, it started getting out on Long Island, is obviously the one we all kind of started with, which was Too Juicy. One of our favorites, the one we do a go-to.
Tiny Juicy.
What'd I say?
Too juicy.
I'm sorry, Tiny Juicy.
There's no such thing.
Okay.
It's a Two Roads beer.
Is it? Oh, that's right. It is. It is a Two Roads beer. You're right.
But
Tiny Juicy, but
we came out with ours first.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Paul turned me on to this probably when you guys first put it out, and I was like, wow, this is really good. And then I had it again, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is like really good. This is like Crush City. I could drink, the whole 6-pack, still be all right, And the beer is and what I like about it, it's crisp, has great aroma and great flavor, but it's so light bodied, but the mouthfeel on it is like, it could be a big beer, but it's not.
Right.
And for me, that's just a great job. That's just a great job by the brewery.
It's an amazing session beer for sure.
Yeah. We get, couple things. We certainly never wanted to have a flagship or but it's certainly the beer that people kind of, aren't you the ones that make Tiny Juicy? So it's becoming that for us for sure. It's also becoming the beer that we're making and producing the most of. But there's a lot of people that kind of ask the same thing. They're like, how did you do that? How did you get that flavor and that everything into 4.2%?
Yep. Because usually you find a beer like that. And again, if you find a beer that's low in ABV, it's usually lacking something else, and it's usually body, and that's only because it's just not a good job. Where this, I was telling you, Mike and Pete, I go to the distributor, I search it out, I buy a couple of 6-packs immediately because I know that's going to be when it's a really hot day out. I'm just hanging out, and I don't want to get all messed up from drinking a 10% or something like that.
It's a good beach IPA.
I see what you mean now, Steve.
This is my go-to now.
Yeah, it's the beer. It started as a one-off. It started as a 16-ounce one-off beer. Just a tall boy 16-ounce can, and it sold out so fast that we were like, maybe we should make it again. We made it again, and the reception was so positive. And after talking to some of our sales folks and the distributor, and they were like, I think this beer should stick around. It shouldn't be one that you just make and never make again. So we put it out, and we haven't really looked back yet.
Did you also have other? I know you said you didn't want to go into this having a flagship, but are there other ones like Tiny Juicy that have kind of caught on and become also multiple brewing cycle?
I mean, we have a core. We call them our core beers. The year-round kind of 6-packs or 4-packs. So, and most of our beers, if you're not already familiar with, we kind of just call them like they are. We really don't have kind of the fanciful name for at least our core beers. So we have a year-round Pilsner. We have a West Coast IPA, Tiny Juicy, Hoppy Lager. These beers are all
what
available.
What style is that?
It's a hoppy lager.
Gridlock, one of those?
Yeah, Gridlock is our kind of newest year-round beer. That's our only year-round beer in 4-packs.
Okay,
that's the beer that Costco took. Was Gridlock. I think Taproom actually carries it as well. And then City Light was a beer that we came out with last year, which is our take on a light lager. So those are the year rounds, and Tiny there, Paul's got it right there.
I've seen that around.
Cool can art.
Yeah. Tiny Juicy definitely is leading the way on those, but it's they're all doing well.
Like the new art on the cans.
Yeah. We one of those things when you go to painted cans, you're limited on your number of colors you can have. So we had to adjust a little bit, but we launched. So everything came out in painted cans for the most part in the last kind of 3 to 4 months, which has been exciting. So
and it definitely helps with the backlog and labeling, right? I mean, obviously, you don't have to label them after they've been canned, so you don't have to have the manpower to do it. And then B, you're not right now backlogged like a lot of the breweries are, because the one thing that's holding a lot of people up is labels.
Yeah, I mean, the concern was initially that aluminum was going to become the problem, and the cans where we get our cans from, Coca-Cola, Budweiser, they're getting cans too. So we're certainly going to take a back seat to them. But we luckily had a bunch of inventory, kind of going into it, and the re-up happened where we feel comfortable where we're not in a position where we're going to run out. But similar, I mean, we have to order the cans in bulk, so similar to the labels. So there was a little bit of concern about if they were going to be still available or not. And we kind of had to change our forecast, obviously, because our cans were starting to sell a lot faster. So when I had said, the re-up will probably be in August or September, that re-up happened a couple of weeks ago to get another order in. So because we have to order
issues. Or
No,
you were
no,
fortunate?
no. Our procurement, for the most part, has been, hasn't really been affected. Whether
That's
we,
good.
had enough inventory on hand, but our partners that we use for boxes and cans and all that stuff, super communicative. From the beginning, talk to them almost daily about what I need, what's going to be coming down, and like, hey, I don't know what next month's going to look like. This is what it looked like for the last year, but everything's kind of thrown away now. So I just need you guys to be as flexible as you can, and they've all been fantastic.
And that's a big pivot point that you had to make to go from having a fully open and operational tasting room to now 95% is going in can, and we got to get it out the door. 100%, right? I mean, do you have a crowler machine on hand?
Nope, just
yeah,
99% into cans. So that's it's a lot. I mean, the staff has been incredible. We really only had about one person that was trained on the canning line, and we had to get everybody else trained up on it just because there's such a volume of canning that we had to spread it out so that other people, could take over as well. And everybody's been incredible from for the last few months that we've been doing this.
So that kind of answers my question. So you have your own canning line. You don't use an outside?
Do.
Yeah.
No, we started mobile canning and then quickly realized that just
make the investment.
It didn't make sense anymore.
Well, with the amount of beer that you're now getting into with, those distribution streams and Costco, and now through the tap room, thank God. Thank God.
And just the flexibility. I mean, like being able to say, you know what, we should actually get this beer out today instead. And when you're on someone else's schedule, as great as they are as partners, the mobile canners that we've used, you're still on a schedule, and you can't really be as flexible. So, I mean, they do incredible things for the craft beer industry for folks that aren't able to get it. They've even helped us out if we had an issue with our canning line and said, we can get one there to you tomorrow, and at least get some beer out while yours gets, repaired or something else. So,
which guys would you go with? You go with Maltman? You go with Ironheart? Who are you?
We've used them all.
Oh, okay.
We've used
spreading the love.
Anvil. Todd from Anvil. We were on the phone with him a couple weeks ago, troubleshooting stuff. Ironheart, Ninth Planet, Maltman. I mean, we've kind of run the gamut. So,
Steve, what were we gonna say before?
Folks in Long Island seem to use Maltman a lot.
Yeah.
Having your own system is probably one of the greatest things. It saves you so much money, and doing a painted cans, not having to deal with the loss of labels, you have trim ups, anything like that. That's awesome.
It's a considerable cost savings.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, Paul can talk a little bit more about it, but I mean, it's actually less expensive too, because when you're getting a label and a can, that cost is more than just the can. So, the problem is you have to be producing at such great volumes to get it.
That's really got to be something you're selling a shit ton of.
You need to order 300,000 cans per SKU at a time. I mean, that's an entire truckload. So for Tiny Juicy, that goes fairly quickly.
Right.
But if you have a beer that you're only selling a couple hundred cases a month, I mean, you're never going to be at that.
And now you can adapt that canning line to do labeling, printing on like the 16 ounces, right?
Yeah, we still have the labeler there. The cans come through it. We just shut it off, and the printed cans just pass right through it. So.
Oh, okay. All right. It's just like it's
still
bypass.
part of the system,
right? Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah. So Steve was asking before about the equipment that you have in there. You said you upgraded to the 150, correct?
120 barrels.
120, sorry. Yeah. So what was the thought process on upping that? Besides, obviously, quantity, would it then free up the tanks for more, not experimental, but, one-offs and stuff like that? And what else have you been doing?
Yeah. I mean, the large tanks, the 120s, were certainly when we launched cans. So, we were draft only that first year. So, here and there, 16-ounce cans. But, I mean, the majority of our volume is draft. And we knew – if we're going to be doing this 6-pack, out into the world, we're going to need to have this volume. So,
right.
And the facility, we always envisioned them. We just didn't think they were going to be there that fast. Our facility is 30-foot high ceilings, and the future plan of the facility was to have these 120 barrel fermenters. Certainly not in the first year and a half, but we made it work. So it certainly frees up the other tanks, the 30 barrel fermenters now, pretty much primarily for double IPAs, 16-ounce can releases. I think somebody was drinking Thank You before. That's a beer that was done on the 30-barrel system. We also have a 5-barrel system at the brewery with two fermenters there and a bright tank, which is a lot of the taproom only stuff. We can do some really interesting blends with fruit and stuff, and we can take a base beer and condition it on fruit on the 5-barrel system, and not tie up a 30-barrel for either an experiment or something that we don't want to put out. We just want to have in the tap room, and you're only getting 8 or 10 kegs out of it, which is much more reasonable than a 30 keg or 50 keg or 60 keg experiment. Sometimes.
You're the king of segues, because my next question is
I'm reading your notes.
Yes, you are. How do you it's in pencil. How do you do that? What other programs do you have? I know, like we said, we talked about the core beers a little bit, and I want to talk a little bit about Too Juicy again. I'm sorry, Tiny Juicy. I said it again, Tiny Juicy. But then I also opened the Noble Lager, and I want to talk about the brewing process with that. But yeah, it's very good. And now I lost my question as I backtracked into my setup.
What other programs?
Other programs, that's correct. Yeah. Like, are you doing a sour program every so often? Yeah. Are you doing stout what's the, is it seasonal? Is it kind of off? Like, what are you working on?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really have anything written in stone. We like to come out with beers that make sense for the time of year. We do some stouts in the wintertime. We had a pretty big adjunct stout come out called 45th Street that had a bunch of different adjunct flavors in it. Lighter beers coming out in the nicer weather. We've done sour. We had a Goza that was right before everything started. That was pretty much a year-round beer as well. So that was a draft beer. We put it into cans here and there. That presented some additional kind of complexities with the brewing process, but that's not something that we've put on the shelf for good. It's just kind of taken a little bit of a break right now. The only real beer that we call a seasonal is our summer ale. We don't have really a spring beer or a winter beer or a fall beer right now, but the summer ale is clearly the seasonal that we have. All the other beers that we have just kind of come out when
that beer was released out, a summer ale.
It's out. Yep, it came out kind of right before things started, like the second or third week of March. We started putting some cans out there, and as I said, now the draft is starting to pick up on that, and that's a beer that does really well for us. It's a super easy drinking blonde ale, which I love drinking. It's a beer that we loved Brooklyn summer. We loved a lot of those kind of
called my bread and butter.
Really well known.
Down to the beach, and it was it's like bagels and toast. Toasted bagels.
So we tried to take our own spin on it, and I'm super happy. I like our summer ale better now than Brooklyn's, but not to say that it's still not a good beer. But that's our only real seasonal. We do got about I think right around 50 wine barrels in the brewery right now. Which
are they full?
Just ask a little question about him. Can you tell me a little bit about these barrels you got sitting in the brewery?
So we've got about 50 wine barrels. We're really trying to get them out, get the majority of them out before the summer gets. The plan was to get them out more in the March-April time. So we're a little backed up on that, but we're working hard to get them out. About 50 of them, mix of red and white wine barrels. Got a good friend of Keon, who's Paul's boss, is one of the owners of Beneducci Vineyards, which is out in New Jersey. Great vineyard out there, great winery. And we got 50 from them, mix of red and white. And we've got a mix of different stuff going on in there. Some mostly golden ale in the white wine and a dark ale in the red wine barrels. And the last couple of weeks and months, we've just been kind of blending and kind of figuring out what goes well with each other. We're hoping to have
some wild yeast in there.
Oh yeah. Everyone's got a little bit of a different thing going on, but there's Brettanomyces and there's a whole bunch of different bacteria and yeast and different strains that work in there. So we're in the process of blending right now and kind of figuring out what goes best with each other, and we're hoping to get that stuff out at least into bottles and condition in the next couple of weeks. So we're super excited. It's our first real kind of foray into that. We've had a couple of the barrels we've pulled here and there for taproom only or special events and stuff like that. But this will be our first.
I was just going to ask that. Yeah,
How do you?
Have you guys done like a blending program before, or is this kind of a first for that?
No, this was. We've got a ton of brewers with experience from various breweries that have done it elsewhere. Our team is made up of some really strong brewers from
got the all-star team. I see what you're doing over there. You guys are just going in and recruiting.
No, but no. But
Kevin, the barrel beer is, correct me if I'm wrong, but is some of the first beer that was brewed, right?
It is. There's some that's been kind of aging, and it's been there for some of the barrels have been sitting on beer for well over a year now. So.
Wow! Oh boy.
Wow!
Yeah, we're excited. We're excited about it.
Now, you guys every so often, obviously, you're doing a little taste test and, like you said, mixing and matching, seeing what you can get out of it.
Hammer nail right in the side.
Yeah, in the not touching the bunghole.
Right.
But yes, that is the term.
Never.
Bunghole.
I know.
It's very important.
Yeah. Paul, on your side, is it going to be a challenge for you to? I guess I have to first ask Paul what your role in something like a barrel program would be. Are you in charge of acquiring them? Are you in charge of what happens after they've been put out there? Like, what's your role in that process?
Yeah, I mean, not so much acquiring. They had the barrels and stuff before I came in. I don't really do the purchasing, just more the tracking of the purchasing and all that kind of stuff. But as far as the barrels go, I've started working on, the yields, how many bottles we're going to be able to get out at certain sizes. If we want to go with 500 milliliters, we want to go with 750. Doing all the math on that,
do you look at like
how many barrels to buy next time? I guess too. Then depending on.
Yeah, I mean the barrels they can be reused. I believe they can be cleaned and reused. But as far as what we're going to do with this beer. We actually have a couple meetings scheduled for later this week to talk about the actual blending process. But I've been sourcing because we don't carry the bottles, we don't keep that stuff in inventory. So I've been getting quotes in that scene who we can work with to form some relationships in that area and hopefully get some good product there.
Kevin, Steve, do you think that putting that melted wax on the top has a big impact on the beer, or is it just about the sellability?
I would say there's a big impact on the price, or at least.
Well,
impact on if you do it wrong and you can't open a freaking bottle, makes people very, very angry.
That's true.
It does look pretty though.
It does look pretty.
I was like an idiot the first time I tried to open a Maker's Mark bottle. I had to Google I'm like, how the fuck do I get this thing open?
Mike,
I had to look up a YouTube video.
Mike and I are very excited about the sour beers coming out.
Yes.
Pete, not so much.
No, it's not.
Slightly less so.
Yeah.
I have not yet embraced the sour style yet, but I don't think I've had a good sour.
The right one yet.
The right one.
Maybe we'll change your mind.
There you go.
Hope so. I'm open.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when people tried Argoza for the first time. The usual reaction is, "I don't like sour beer," and then they tried Argoza and they're like, "What? This was? Oh, I'll do another one of these then."
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
But because it has.
My wife had one of a juicy IPA. She just had a baby a few months ago, and she hasn't. She likes craft beer, but not as into it as I am. But she tried one of these hazy IPAs a few weeks ago after finally getting back into alcohol. And she's like, this is great. I want more of this. And I'm like, hey, it turns out you like IPAs.
How about that? I mean, I got into sours by accident. I think I ordered something at a bar. Actually, I think it was at Barcade a while ago.
Which one?
Which one? Yeah.
The one on the Lower East Side, 24th Street, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. Came out of a concert, was drunk, stumbled in, was like, give me that. And I didn't realize it was sour. I went, oh, what is this? And it was really a very sour one. But I went, I can do this. This is one of the things that I actually do like. So over time now, in the last year, I've been kind of seeking out those really, not a lot of variants, but I like a drier sour. So, when they do like a sour IPA, and it's just almost like a sparkling wine, but with a little bit of that bitterness and a little bit of juicy. I'm like, this I can definitely get into. And then I expanded from there, and now I'm into like, blackberry sours and some of the crazy, multiple adjunct sours, and it grows on you a little bit. So you have to find something you like, and then you expand out from there, I guess.
Sure.
Kind of like what we all did with Sierra Nevada, as we were talking about before. That was one of the things we've talked on the show a few times. Sierra Nevada was like an entry-level beer for a lot of us.
So yeah, that's kind of what I usually ask this same question every show to everybody. So Kev, Paul,
Nick's still here.
Yeah, he's still here. Right?
He's still here.
And Kev, you kind of already told us what was like your first craft beer that got you into craft beer. What is the style that you truly, really enjoy the most? And now, what is one of your favorite beers? And we'll start down here with Kev.
Well, I'm up here on my screen, but I believe you.
And he's over here on the stream. He's my lower left. Yeah.
Sierra Nevada, without a doubt, first one I remember drinking. I definitely lean more towards a Pilsner lager type beer. I would say the beer that I like the best, I can't, again, I don't like to pick favorites with my children, but I like our hoppy lager a lot, which is a hoppy lager. But yeah, I'd say that between the Pilsner or hoppy lager, I would say those are the two that I would want to pour myself the most.
Cool. Paulie.
Oh man, well yeah, I mean again, Sierra Nevada, funnily enough, and then also right around the same time was Blue Point Oatmeal Stout. Blue Point used to distribute growlers, and I was at Stony Brook University, and Stony Brook Beverage had growlers, and they're walking. You can just go in and grab the sealed growler, and those two beers, and then from there I basically went real hard on Belgians like for a long time.
It's my jam.
Now, honestly,
I don't think I've ever drank one with you before.
Yeah, no, probably not a single one. Probably not a single beer. Yeah, I mean, I've had my phases with all styles. I mean, right now, from a Five Boroughs standpoint, the whole lager, they really brought me around to the whole lager game. I mean, working in a brewery, you see the lagers become the beer of choice for a lot of the people that work there. And
that is, for me, that is so good to see, because going, instead of all the adjuncts, everything that's been going on, and you're putting friggin' bamboo shoots and kitten farts in a beer.
I love that IPA. Kitten fart IPA is the best.
That's acquired.
Yeah.
Does that lower the yield, kitten farts, or
that's why they don't make them, because the yield
gives a little higher pH balance.
Yeah, and that's great to see that more breweries are actually doing lager style and Pilsner style beers really well, especially here in the New York tri-state area.
It's a lager.
I think that's big. Like I made my rounds on the craft beers, and you know what? Like I'm getting a little tired of it here and there. Like when I'm just trying to coast
just want
and
a nice
relax,
fucking lager, right?
I just want a lager, and
yeah,
and having that option with the craft breweries now is a game changer for sure.
What was
I have a follow-up question to Steve's.
What was that first beer that got you into craft?
For me, I'm slightly younger. So Sierra was not my first, but Hoptical was my first, actually from Blue Point Brewery. At the time, it was just like so different because it was super hoppy, like right off.
And it was high ABV.
Yeah.
Was that the reason? Yeah. That was
too. High ABV.
Me
super
too.
Hoppy.
I was drinking Hoptical Illusion when I was telling myself I didn't like IPAs, but I really liked Hoptical Illusion. It was like 8 and change by volume.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the first real double IPA on the for sure.
Yeah.
There was, I mean, Southampton may have done some stuff beforehand that I wasn't familiar with, but as far as like it being readily available, Hoptical Illusion was a big deal.
Yeah, that got me hooked for sure.
And speaking of Rosies, I would get a hopped illusion at Penn Station at Rosies
32
Pizza.
ounces, $5.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I would jump that on the train on the way home and pass out
Nice
before my
slice.
stop.
Get
And
that
it's the
road
best.
soda with a straw.
Yeah.
Nothing's better than drinking
Follow-up
beer
question
with a straw.
to Steve. So Steven said, what's your, what got you started? What's a trend you wish, a craft beer trend you wish would go away? That you see,
That's for the table. Anybody can answer.
That's a hard one. That's Kev doesn't want to answer.
I think the gimme is beer influencers on social media. I don't know if it's.
It's a tough one. I mean, because there's positive points to almost every style where you can take it in a different direction or do something with it, right? So if you didn't like let's say a quad.
Freaking pastry stouts. Get rid of them. I hate those things.
Yeah, right.
Isn't that all you did? We did get rid of them. You got rid of them for us.
Those are, it's funny. Those are not the beers I liked from Steve.
It's true.
I'll throw one out there. It's a curveball. When is it? When are the hazies done? When's that going to be? When's that trend going to?
God, I hope never.
I don't think it's
Take
peaked
these
yet.
boys, Steve.
It's here for good.
I'm not sure if they've even peaked yet because there's not as many people. Like Pete was just saying with his wife.
That's scary if we haven't reached peak haze.
No, I don't think we have. I think there's still a lot of people that have not ventured out of their macro beer comfort zone and tried it and went, oh snap. So at one point, there's going to be another wave, I think, of people. At that point, are we doing, super haze? I don't know, but maybe we've cleaned it up a little bit. I mean, I still enjoy a good hazy every so often. I can't drink, a 4-pack of them. I appreciate the people who are doing double IPAs, but they're not haze juice bombs. Mm-hmm. But I still love a good juice bomb. I mean, everyone is going to say I can do that, But can I do a 4-pack? Can I do 6 of them at a time? Can I crush them on a boat fishing?
Yeah,
and
I'm in the same boat for sure. I want one to taste, and then I got to switch it up after that.
And what do you
I'm glad everybody stopped doing the one up. Like for a while there, when the West Coast were going crazy, and it was like 100 IBUs.
Yeah,
IBUs. It was just like, okay, enough.
It's like playing poker. Raise you.
Double, triple, quads. 6-tuplet.
Ooh, I don't think that's been done yet.
Yeah, 19 and counting IPAs.
It just gets crazy. As long as the beer's well done. Hazies are going to stay around, I think, because they're those people that don't like bitter beers, but they like all that hop profile. And
that is true because they do balance out, and you can get somebody hooked on that, like as an intro to more bitterness for sure.
I'm that guy.
Yeah,
I'm that guy that's suckered in by juicy IPAs.
Yeah,
and
you got
Pete,
the fruit characteristics without adding fruits.
Yeah.
And Pete was totally anti-IPA. So his entry-level beer was a hazy, juicy IPA. So for him, then he's branched out from there and started, experimenting a little bit, like any good person does after he gets his little taste and ends up, exploring his palate a little more. And now, most of the beers that come into the studio and that we bring in for shows, he's like, oh, okay, I could do this. I know you still don't like your super bitter West Coast.
Can't do it.
That's my jam, though.
Oh man,
I'll take a 8% or West Coast any day.
I think I was having such a tough.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Kev.
No, I was going to say I think I was having such a tough time with the question because I think that's what makes the craft beer industry so great is that you have all these trends and you really you can do whatever you want, and just because it may not be a trend, but you can explore something and try something, and I don't see any. I'm being pretty genuine. I don't think there is such thing as a negative trend in the craft brewing industry. I think the fact that we all do different stuff, but we all do the similar things. It's all just kind of what makes the craft beer industry what it is.
And you never know who's going to be that entry-level beer. Yeah, which entry style it's going to be for anybody. Somebody could be a Pilsner, and you're like, oh, crap, I don't have to drink Bud Heavies or Bud Lights anymore. Or someone will like a sour. I'm like, oh, I can drink beer. This is a beer. My wife is like that.
We get a lot of people in the tap room that kind of drive past, and they just think it's a bar, so they stop in, and they'll ask, do you have something that's close
to...
Get
a Corona or something.
What do you have that tastes like Heineken, or, Corona or Coors Light or anything like that. And that's a fun challenge for us as brewery employees, and the bartenders, love it as well, where they can go through our portfolio. We usually have 16 beers on in the tap room, and someone can walk in and say, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that, and we'll usually have something that they'll, or we get a lot of people that say, I don't like beer, but I'll try something, and we can maybe go and give a sour beer or one of our fruited beers, and the person, 9 times out of 10 will go, this is beer, and their
Good
perception
for them for
is
being adventurous enough to say, I don't like beer, but.
Well, they're with their friends who drive them to the brewery or whatever, and I mean,
we've local got wine.
Yeah.
It's better when you can convert somebody, though.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And, we see it in the tap room. Yep. Not recently, but we see it, all the time. So it's one of mine. When people ask me, like, what's your favorite? I think Blake probably says the same thing. Like, what's your favorite thing about the tap room or the brewery? It's that. It's converting a customer right in front of you.
Yeah. Because they have this preconception that beer tastes a certain way, and then you give them something that's been well crafted, and you say, "Here, just try this." But
it tastes nothing like Bud Light, I promise.
They're like, "Holy cow, that's really good." There's really nothing better than that.
Nick, going back to Steve's original question, what's your go-to right now?
You
head into a distributor, you're looking around, you're like, I want this.
Yes. Nothing that comes from where you work.
Yeah.
Well, no, to be honest, Steve, you brought it up. I picked up some of those Dubco lagers. I've been liking the lager trend and the Pilsner trend for sure. I've been sticking, I'm a seasonal drinker. I drink a lot of beers.
I'm a daily drinker.
Yeah. By seasonal, you mean you drink every season.
Every season.
Yeah. But, I like the lighter stuff in the summertime. I'm sticking with that. I haven't dived deep into the Beyond Beer category yet, but I know everybody's doing I've seen some seltzers come out. I've seen some other stuff.
Are you talking about Joe from WA Mead Company that's doing his take on mead seltzers?
No, I didn't see that.
Go check it out.
Dude, I had that Spritzo again, that creamsicle one yesterday.
Yeah.
Fucking delicious.
And see, Pete would never go to buy a seltzer, but man.
I cannot bring myself to buy a seltzer.
Yeah.
But.
What's the ABV on those mead seltzers?
They're like 4 or 5. The mead Spritzos. The Spritzos, yeah.
Spritzo was good.
Is Five Boroughs going to go into the seltzer market?
Ah.
I'm sorry, Steve. Your mic keeps cutting out.
Yeah.
There's your answer.
I was kidding. I'd say that we're not opposed to exploring anything at this point.
Nothing's off the table. It's all possible. Why not? Same thing like you said before. You never know where it would lead you to something new that is a crossbreed of spritzer and beer. I mean, it could be.
That's also where the demand is. I talked to Mike from Some Guys, and like, he cannot keep that shit in stock.
Yeah, we've got a beer. We've got a beer coming out in like 2 weeks, which we're hoping is great timing for the season. But we've got a shandy coming out for the first time.
I do like shandies. Yeah.
Oh wow, nice.
We had it in our tap room last year, and I mean it crushed in the tap room. I mean,
what's the name of it?
It's called Sunset Shandy.
Okay.
It'll be in 6-packs, 12-ounce 6-packs. It's going to have a similar color scheme to the summer ale. But think lemon instead of a sun.
Nice.
So it's a lemonade flavor on a light lager. And it did really. It actually, that was another beer that we made about a keg of it, I think, last year or 2 years ago for our anniversary party for the employees to kind of sip on during the day. 3% lemonade and lager.
We call those lab rats. You guys are
so that one
test population.
We did it for the tap room for last summer, and even a little longer into the fall, and it sold extremely well. So
nice.
We're going to put that out, and hopefully you guys see that out in Long Island sometime in July probably.
I want to quickly talk about
pretty popular lately too for the summer. That seems like
it makes sense.
Emerging. Right. I don't know if trend is the right word, but a style that I think is getting some more attention lately.
Yeah, Leinekugels and Dells, folks like that have had them around. But I think some of the craft breweries you'll start to see, kind of experiment with something that's, not quite a seltzer, not quite beer, kind of in that kind of.
And your equipment is all set up to do that process, correct? So you don't even need to change any major components. It's just another brew cycle.
Yep.
The ABV on that was like 3% or something.
Yeah, I think it's going to come out
under 4.
It's going to be right around 4. I mean, most of our, I think it's hard to sell a beer much lower than that without people kind of being like, what's the point at that point? But I think we're going to come
drink 17 of them. That's the point.
Yeah, I think our goal should be right around 4%.
Nice.
So
I've been drinking for the last 20 minutes here the lager, the German Noble Lager, and I like what it says on the back because I read it before, and it said brewed for rooftops, brewed for backyards, brewed for cutting out early, brewed for staying out late.
That one.
Yeah, brewed for the avenues, brewed for the trails, brewed for today, and brewed for tomorrow. That's exactly how I would enjoy this. This is something I would take with me to those places, to those moments, because it's clean, crisp. It drinks very well. It's not over the top, kill you. I've been doing a lot of traveling in the last few weeks because we can't do anything around here. So I've been going upstate and doing my hiking thing. And every time I go hiking, I bring a beer, and I totally forget to take a picture every time to post. But it's that
Never
beer.
happened.
That's the beer that I would probably take with me
I liked it a lot.
on the next trip. Yeah, it's great. Tell me a little bit about.
So that's a perfect example of a beer that was made on our 5-barrel system that was destined for the tap room.
Destined for greatness.
And then the current situation happened. So being able to quickly pivot, we said, well, we've got 5 barrels of this delicious German Noble Lager that might not see a tap room for a good bit of time. So whipped up a label and had the cans in house and got it into cans, and that's been something that we've sold now. That's an exclusive brewery only to go beer.
That's crazy. So, I would have never probably been able to catch it in time to enjoy it, and I'm happy to get it here. It's delicious, and might be one of my new favorites.
Well done.
Yeah, it's been selling extremely well. Again, limited, super limited brewery only batch, and it's people are loving it. So
and so
including the employees.
Yeah, of course. Because it seems like every brewer loves a good lager. I mean, every time we speak to people, one of their favorite styles, making lagers great again. Why can't we bring lagers back? Well, obviously, as a brewery owner,
you went there.
I did.
Lager's great again.
But well, no, I'm just saying.
I mean, I don't like the.
I didn't come up with that. One of our guests said it, and I said, I get it.
But
I understand.
can we make lagers more?
Well, they would love to. I think a lot of the breweries would love to make more lager because they love the style. But the thing is, it doesn't sell as fast as the IPA. It doesn't sell as fast as maybe the stout or the sour. I mean, that's...
And it ties up your tanks longer, too.
And it ties up everything right. So they would love to have better lagers, but they just can't. They're just not part of the repertoire.
We've got a bunch of great breweries, luckily, right around us, and we're oftentimes borrowing something, or a delivery doesn't come, and the breweries are always trading, like, thanks for the help. Here's a 12-pack of our lager, and I mean,
bonus day.
Nice.
whether it's Strong Rope or Threes or Other Half or whoever we're borrowing or they're borrowing. I mean, it's the continual trade of what lager you have.
Wait a second, Other Half doesn't make lagers. Come on.
Sure they do.
No, I know they do. But they don't promote it. No one puts pictures up there about it. So they only get this stigma of like single and double IPAs, hazies all days from Other Half. I mean, that's what they're known for, obviously.
Sure.
But the other ones you mentioned are important too to the area, like Threes and Strong Rope. I've been to both of those breweries a couple of years ago. Great lineup, great boards, awesome beer. Threes has got a really cool space where they have food. They have an outdoor space. Strong Rope is a little smaller, obviously, but it still does private events. And again, same great little spot. And so you're kind of fitting in with that little community, which is nice. So when people go to, the Brooklyn area and they want to do a couple of, bar hops around, it's important to have, a couple of breweries they can go to, stop and use, stop and
What's been great seeing lately is, this to-go mentality, which, has really been helpful for a lot of breweries. But, I'll be running cans out to someone's trunk, and the trunk pops open, and I can see
everyone
a
else.
Case from Other Half, a case from Strong Rope. Cool. These people are making a run to Brooklyn and hitting all. I mean, it happens more often than not, which is great to see.
Awesome,
so.
And then they're trading it out they're trading some of it out to the West Coast for Great Notion and for 420 in Illinois and all. But it's true. I gotta say, for the most part, the beer trade online, the underground beer trade online, definitely helps the breweries out, even though they're not sanctioning it whatsoever because it's illegal.
Good advertising.
But it's good advertising, right? And what's good then? It helps the tap room, and it helps the what's the other one? Tavor. It does, because now people anywhere in the country can get their hands on. They're like, oh, I had that.
And that's a specialty for Tavor too, is that they will not target the tri-state area with a Five Boroughs offering.
Right.
You can't even, it won't even show up on your feed. They have a great
interesting
way they do it.
Algorithm.
Because I looked, I was like, oh, I wonder if there's any Five Boroughs, and you can't find it. I mean, it's
now,
the way they do it.
Do you guys do any besides? Do you guys do home delivery or?
So we started shipping about 2 weeks ago. So with the kind of relaxed laws, New York State now allows us to ship beer directly to folks. We didn't get into the home delivery game. We do the pickups from the brewery, and then our beer obviously out at different places throughout the city.
Now the online, they could do that. People could do that right from your guys' website.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, the last 2 weeks, Paul, you've seen the orders too. I mean, it weighs kind of heavy on Long Island, I'd say.
Yeah, because
for where we've been shipping our beer to, that folks that have been buying on the website that can't pick it up, I'd say, I don't know, maybe
Westchester, really.
Yeah, I'd say, and a couple capital area, but I mean, there's been a number of Long Island folks that have been ordering, which has been cool to see.
And what we've had out here is a bunch of breweries that I'm relatively close to. I can go out and grab it from them if I need to.
Sure.
The other breweries are. It's not a bad thing, but they're not really shipping or delivering to your zip code for like another week or so. So then you got to wait. And if you don't want to wait and you have the ability for someone to ship it directly or deliver it directly, that's kind of what you go to. So, when I went out and explored a little bit of what breweries could get it to me as fast as possible, I'm on my last 2 beers and I'm like, I'm an idiot. I need to stock up immediately. What are my options? That's go right onto the phone and figure it out. Yeah. I mean, it's a big part of what you guys, like you said, a pivot point for what you had to do.
Yeah.
How much of that timing is necessary, do you think, for this delivery system? Do we leave it in there for the state for the rest of the year, or do we move it out once Phase 4 kicks in? Like, I want to kind of discuss kind of post Phase 1 right now, as you guys opened up, or did you? Yet today, what you see for the future, or what you guys are planning on, because that's a big deal. Like, you have to now start planning on how these things start moving forward. How does the brewery, figure that process out?
Yeah, I mean, our hope is that we're set up for whatever kind of happens, right? We've got the shipping down, we've got the to-go set up. We're going to start doing, right now it's Monday through Friday to pick up. We're going to open up this weekend. Breaking news. We're going to start opening up on Saturdays and Sundays, so that people can come by and pick up on the weekends directly from us.
Is this just beer to go though, right?
Correct. Beer to go. But just getting more integrated back into the way of, we've noticed a lot more people out on the weekends and looking for it. So we saw the need for it.
These last couple of weekends have been really nice. So.
Yeah. So people are out for sure. Yeah. I think the laws. I think there needs to be a lot to look at. I think a lot of the New York State in particular laws are extremely antiquated. I don't think they're exactly with the current environment. So I think that everything needs to be looked at. I know that some breweries are going to be more passionate about it than others. I think that however we can get beer to consumers as easy as possible for the consumer and the brewery is the best way for everybody. And whether that's being able to ship it or pick it up or deliver it, however that may be. I will say, as great as delivering is going to be, I mean, I told you the first thing I said this morning, traffic was twice as much as it was. I mean, I know it's been great probably to drive around and deliver beer for the last couple of weeks, but it's got to be something that brewers are thinking about. Like, well, what do we do when there's all this traffic now in the city, and it takes you an hour to get from one part of Brooklyn to the other? So, not to say that's a reason why we stayed out of it, but it's certainly something to think about when things kind of go back to normal. How viable is brewery vans driving out to people's houses, driving beer around?
Yeah, it was fine when you
something
can make
like
it to
DoorDash
Albany.
or Uber Eats. Is there any service like that for?
Yeah, I know Caviar's been doing. I think Caviar actually does threes. I could be wrong, but I think Caviar does threes. Maybe Grimm, a couple others. Again, all things we looked into. We feel really strongly with Taproom.
Sure. Yeah.
The folks that we've already partnered with and kind of left it there. Have been seeing great stuff with that. And just in general, our beer just is kind of at Trader Joe's and Whole Foods and places like that, so people can walk.
It's easy for people to get it without having to. Yeah.
And it was a little like competing interests and stuff like that, and kind of we had great partners kind of in place, and kind of let them continue to do it.
Paul, what's the biggest difference for being in like a Trader Joe's versus a taproom service? What's the biggest part? I guess inventory wise or planning wise that you'll have to take care of.
I mean, Kevin really handles the what's going where, but I mean, obviously, the places like Taproom, Trader Joe's, we discussed before, Costco, Fresh Direct, these places are taking, when a bar is ordering 1 or 2 cases a week or something, these guys are taking 80, 20 cases at a clip.
A little bit more.
But that's really once it the way it leaves Five Boroughs is the same for us every time, because all those purchases still go through SKI. So, they're handling all the breaking it down once we send the pallet out. But
I will say, like, the communication is key though, right? Because I think that sometimes a lot of those bigger, I think Taproom gets the small brewery, but sometimes the larger chains kind of don't think about what like 100 to 150 to 200 case order would do to someone's inventory.
Right.
So kind of communicating with those bigger suppliers and being like, can you give us a little bit of a heads up? Like, we won't run out, but you got to at least kind of let us know.
Got to plan for that.
Before you see that number come in and you're like, oh my God.
A little bit of that with City Field last year, where they tiny juicy cans into City Field, and it's. I mean, I had come out of that business. I know how it goes. Like, if we don't have the beer ready, we're gonna buy someone else's beer, and they're not knocking on your door again.
So as you can see, I am a big Mets fan, and I go to City Field now a lot, and one of the things that really I was lacking in those first few years of the field was I was seeing Brooklyn, but there was no other smaller brewery presence in their lineup. And then I started seeing Five Boroughs, and I started seeing LIC.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think LIC went in.
And that was like important to me, because then I would walk around the stadium for 20 minutes just looking for the place that sold me the smaller craft brewery beers.
Yeah.
The 4 sections.
Yeah, that did. It was
they
one.
do a good job with it there, though.
It's one of the best. I mean, it's easily one of the best stadiums for craft beer. It's been noted.
Yep.
I think Sports Illustrated wrote about it last year.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I really wish they would expand it even more, because I would love to see a great lineup representing New York City beers, Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Bronx, and Staten Island beers. I would love to see a little more presence, and I'm sure as they're selling the Five Boroughs, they're selling the LIC stuff, they'll see it in their numbers, saying, "Oh, well, this is working." I'm hoping that they step it up for the next year, or maybe not this year, but next year. No. Probably not.
I'm seeing it pretty big on the West Coast stadiums. Like they'll have a full-out bar of 16-ounce cans.
Yep.
You know, I think it's coming our way on this side for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is. And minor league is a good place to if you have access to any minor league
Really?
whatsoever. They
just
actually
you go to the Ducks. The Ducks.
Yeah, even the Ducks. Yep.
Have really some good craft beer.
Yeah, up in their restaurant at the second level there, overlooking the field. I was there for I had a gift certificate or something, and we went to dinner before a game, and I looked at their tap line. I'm like, wow, they have Greenport. They had some pretty decent.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm like, this is pretty interesting. This is starting to catch on in places that I normally doesn't.
It's relatively affordable sponsorship for a smaller brewery. You're still getting a good amount of exposure.
Yeah.
And it fits into the sort of, at least in the Ducks being in an independent league, it fits into the kind of independent sort of craft localized kind of
right. Yeah.
And not to knock it, but you're not getting a lot of people driving from out of state to go see like a Ducks game. It's going to be those people in your community that are going to.
No one from Ontario's coming down to see.
That's what I mean. I don't want to put it in a negative light, but that's true. It's going to be the local population that's if they're going to be able to patronize a Duck game. Yeah, they're going to be able to patronize a Duck game. They're going to be able to patronize your breweries.
Right. They're local people for local breweries.
Yeah. So what do we have in store for Five Boroughs going forward?
I think still same quality, good beer coming out. As I said, the sour program hopefully coming out before the summer. Shandy in a couple of weeks. More. I think, as we all know, Long Island is starting to reopen. So I think we're going to try to put some big attention out there in the next couple of weeks and try to get some bars that maybe we weren't in previously. So
I mean, telling you, people are going to be running to outdoor restaurants and those restaurants.
And I think it's a time to kind of I think a lot of bars are probably doing a refresh and kind of see, all right, what's out there. So we're trying to do the best we can to get our name out there. And
who's been killing it during the COVID season? That's now the big name that they have to have on tap.
Yeah. So that's big for us on Long Island, and then just continuing to grow as much as we can. And like I said from the beginning, the goal of the whole thing is to be New York City's brewery. And I'm not going to say that we're anywhere where that needs to be. We want to continue to make great beer and continue to grow and get more people familiar with us and just have fun doing it.
Now, I've seen, I haven't been in the tasting room, which is going to change as soon as you guys are allowed people to be inside. Nice big area, big, open area, which is awesome. Do you have an outside area that you can take advantage of?
So we, right before this all started, we actually were in the process of getting a permit for our sidewalk.
Okay.
Just to start the process of doing that anyways. The city and the state have now kind of, at least for this summer, released the need for any type of official permit. We're still going to pursue it just to have it, but we've got a pretty wide sidewalk directly in front of the brewery.
Nice.
So we're going to be able to take advantage of that and have some seats out there. There's also, the laws kind of change every day, or the notifications that we get, like you were saying, Mike, earlier, these emails just keep coming in. But, they're saying now that restaurants and breweries and such alike can kind of take over street space as well, parking spaces directly in front of your establishment.
Yeah.
So there's all things we're exploring, and, we've got a couple more weeks left before it's upon us. But as the news kind of comes out, we're trying to take as much as we can in. And
we have a bunch of towns here on Long Island that are looking into just shutting down Main Street and just putting all the tables outside. Farmingdale, Patchogue, Babylon, they're all looking into it.
Yeah. The street that we're on, we
has to own the tables, though.
Right.
That was only for phase 1, I believe.
Right, yes, correct.
I think once we move into phase 2.
You have to move into phase 2 in order to do outdoor dining, right.
We're lucky where the brewery is, at least on weekends, 47th Street, which you can see on the can on the map there. It's a pretty heavy, it's a commercial street, and most of the businesses are Monday through Friday only. So on Saturday and Sunday, there isn't much traffic on that street. There's not many trucks delivering, things of that nature. So I think there is a chance for us to kind of spill out into the street a little bit, as long as it's within the laws of the city and the state. So
just to go back a little bit, our boy Joe Bruzzo from WA Meadworks asked a question on our Facebook Live. So what was the size of the order you guys sent to City Field?
Well, I can't remember. I think the first delivery was like maybe between 50 and 100 cases, something like that. 90 cases.
Wow. Cans, there was no kegs.
Yeah, it was 16 ounce. We made Tiny Juicy for them only in a 16 ounce can, which again was the flexibility because we presented them our beers and they said we want Tiny Juicy in 16 ounce cans, and we were like, it doesn't come in 16 ounce cans, but we will do it. We will do it for you. I think you're right, Paul. It was 90 cases, and then
it was like 300 for the year. Roughly.
Yeah.
Okay.
300 or so for the season.
Paul, to follow up with that, we've had I don't look at the Facebook feed as much as other. You've been on pretty much the whole time. But we had a guy, Travis Bristow from Australia, tuning in tonight.
Oh, Australia. Yeah.
And he loves sours. So back on the sour talk, he was saying what's up. And then Joe Bruzzo, of course, just went crazy on the Crispy Boys, other half pilsner's good. Yeah, we know. I'm not saying they don't brew anything but IPAs. I was just kidding. But
Did
they're just no fun.
Did he denigrate any breweries?
No.
Stop it, Peter.
I like that brewery a lot. It's one of my favorite. But the town and the city has to provide these regulations. They have to be really transparent and clear, like we were talking about last time, of what you can and cannot do. So that way you can prepare accurately, right? If you're going to be able to shut down.
That was the problem at Farmingdale this past weekend. We fucked it up for all of Nassau County.
Yes, the word.
No, Farmingdale, my town. We fucked it up.
I thought you meant we.
We misconstrued the order for the county, and there, a bunch of restaurants were trying to serve people on, outside on the sidewalk, and it turns out, that's not legal.
There's a lot of questions about
every day
rooftops too. Yeah, I saw something today about rooftops were interpreted wrongly by somebody, and that's not considered outside. And
really,
and then it goes on social.
I guess because you have to go inside to go up there. I guess,
and that's the problem right now. There's really no anything set in stone.
It's such a fucked up time.
We can all agree to that.
Bars, restaurants are having a rough time with it because there's nothing that's being sent to them. In black and white, basically telling them this is exactly what you need to do at phase 1, phase 2. It's.
I consider us as a brewery in New York State and New York City lucky. I mean, we've got the New York State Brewers Association and the New York City Brewers Guild, which we're both members, and we have the staff of them that kind of navigate and can read that, and they have the pipeline into the government and people like that.
That's big to have that network in front of you.
Yeah.
Because we're starting to get closer to the end here, I want to go through these two beers that I cracked. So the first one, that since we talked about the lager and the Tiny Juicy, this was the dry hopped Cascade Citra. Tell me a little bit about that. Coming in at 6.8.
So that's another beer that it's been one of our core beers for since we opened. We came out with that beer in Pilsner and IPA.
Clear IPA, folks. Clear.
Yeah. It's West Coast.
Yeah. My favorite.
So again, that's a beer that was draft only. And was one of our more popular beers, but because it was draft only, kind of ran into a predicament where we said, well, we've got some IPA that's ready to be packaged, but we don't, we're not going to be able to put it in a keg. So again, pivoted quickly, got labels printed up in a couple days, and got that beer into cans. And Case of Drain did that label run.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we got that beer out. That was a larger batch, so we got that beer out, to accounts throughout the city in Long Island and Westchester, which was exciting because that's, a beer that we all love, and the fact that it was in a can for the first time, even though it was kind of a limited release, was still pretty exciting for all of us.
And then we were talking about Thank You before. So Steve's was yellow, mine's orange.
Yeah, so there's four different labels there.
Yeah.
Each one kind of signifying a different segment of of service workers. Yeah. So that's a beer that came out about 2 weeks ago. Again, 100% of the proceeds from that beer will be going to the New York City COVID-19 Relief Fund.
Awesome.
You know, we're super excited about that beer. It also tastes really good as well. So that's one we're excited about.
Now, was that one released, through distribution venues, or was that?
That went out to Wort did not get that one, but that went out to our usual spots in New York City and Westchester and Long Island. So Whole Foods, stores like that, your bottle shop on the corner. I saw a bunch of places in Long Island posting about it. Paul probably knows them better than I do, but a lot of those beverage centers were posting about it, that they had them in stock and stuff like that. So
a lot of them sold out, actually.
That's probably why. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Is that right?
I looked for some of them because I saw the post and I went, "Oh, I want to go grab that because I like a double."
Yeah,
and
I was gonna look it up and see who had them, but
they more than likely by the time I got to it, it was like, nope, no more. It went quick, so that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Again, getting the name out there.
Superstar Beverage in Amityville, and
they always have shit. They always get everything.
I got some at Swift.
Okay. Yeah, but the thing is, they get it.
Belmore Beverage.
It might sit there for 3 years, though.
Belmore Beverage
is that? Yeah, Belmore. Does it go to Dave's Cold Beer and Soda? Dave's Cold Beer and Soda.
Not cheap a douchebag.
And one of our buddies that came on year one, actually, and we see him at all the festivals, and he has Belport beverage.
Cold beer and soda.
Dave's Cold Beer and Soda, and he always has.
We ripped him for quite a while. We made it like a whole big country thing. Cold beer and soda.
It was a good
Dave's
40.
Cold beer and soda.
It was a good 40 minutes of just ripping on. Hysterical. But yeah, I mean, it was tough to find. Not
always a bad thing.
No, but the tiny
one of those
juicy,
good problems.
The hoppy lager, I can get that right next door. It would be harder to find, the 16-ounce ones. But
which
you're right.
Which is kind of fun for us to play in that game as well, and have those more kind of sought after beers.
Supply and demand. That's what it is. It creates
a
buzz.
The can art on hoppy lager.
Yeah.
That's right up my alley. Do you guys you've stated like a wide variety of styles. Do you guys focus on a certain style like for local distribution, or are you guys staying wide range for all beer drinkers?
I mean, like I said, our core beers are a Czech Pilsner, an IPL, a hoppy lager, a West Coast IPA, a juicy 4.5 session,
something for everybody,
and a hazy, New England style IPA. So I mean, I think we're kind of like pretty well spread out there.
Steve always gets the shakes when you mention IPL. He gets the heebie-jeebies. Maybe Steve, you should have called it a hoppy lager, and it would have been.
He made one, man.
He did. He made a really good one.
So goddamn
really good one.
The beer was so good. It's just because we put the huge name lager on it. People are like, well, I'm not
buying a lager.
So goddamn good.
It was so good.
Hoppy lager. I mean, on draft especially. I mean, it's some of our bigger accounts that pour that in their places.
And even since he made it, I think times have changed.
Yes.
Still, and I think that if he did it again, it would have sold better now as opposed to a couple of years ago.
Crazy how fast that changes, too.
Right? It is. And I think
it was funny because at that time we had so many, home D's and that saying, "Oh man, we can't sell this. It says it's lager." Meanwhile, it was one of the hoppiest lagers you were ever going to get at 10% ABV, and it was
a beast of a beer, man.
We actually I still find every so often a 4-pack somewhere at a home D.
Hidden gems.
And when I see it, I just buy it. So, and the beer still tastes good, so it's amazing.
That's good.
Absolutely.
But what I dig about Tiny Juicy, for me is there's not a term for it, but it's a petite hazy. It's something.
Ooh, you just coined the phrase.
Yes,
new
it's
style.
A hazy.
New trend.
It sounds so cute.
It's hazy. It's got all that hop aroma that when you crack the can, as soon as you get it, you're like, oh yeah. but it's only 4.5%. In a little 12-ounce can, which I love also. So yeah, that's you guys. I think you guys hit on one of the top petite hazies.
Thank you very much.
Just quickly checking in on Facebook. Travis Bristow from Australia actually says, Steve, you and me both, although there have been some very impressive IPLs here lately over in Australia. I guess that against regionally...
What is your problem, Steve? You weren't brewing in Australia.
There it is. I mean, that's the thing. Like, regions are different, too. You're still going to have your Czech pills and your lagers and stuff like that. Europe has its own style. And then imagine trying to introduce a juicy IPA 5 years ago into Europe. People are going to be like, the fuck is this? Yeah. But now it's starting, it spans oceans and continents, and it's kind of crazy. So as it finally, those trends catch up to places like Australia, which is really isolated by oceans, IPLs are catching on. People are starting to really enjoy those styles. It's kind of amazing.
Hey, the hops that we put in our IPL come from New Zealand. So.
Right. Easy shipment there, as opposed to going all the way from New Zealand to New York. It's kind of crazy. All right.
Let me ask you guys. I don't know if you know, Kev. How's it been getting some of these sexy hops lately?
Not. I mean, we're lucky.
You have contract?
We're contracted out. So, our brewer and Keon actually went out, last year for the harvest, and were able to kind of get their hands on some stuff that sometimes other breweries might not be able to, or at least kind of be in the discussions about it. So we have a great relationship with the folks that we get our hops from. So hasn't been terrible, and I think it helps with the amount that we're purchasing that we kind of get the look sometimes on that.
Yeah. Using any New York hops at all? Or?
Say it again.
Using any New York hops?
Yeah, I mean, we do, as part of the license we have as a farm brewery.
You do our farm brewery.
Yeah, cool. So we're a combined craft, which
and a micro.
We're both a farm brewery and a microbrewery, so we're brewing at least 60 to 100 barrels of New York State beer each year. So
I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah.
Does that mean you'll open a Five Boroughs tap room in each of the Five Boroughs?
That would be cool.
That's the manifest destiny.
That was like the early on questions. Right? Is each of your beer going to be named after a borough? And
that's that, man. You guys, with that name, you actually have a lot of leeway. Besides having the farm brewery license or the combo license, you guys do a lot of different things. That's awesome.
We got Greg Kelly, president of the Long Island Beer and Malt Enthusiasts, or LIBME, checking in, saying hello.
Hello, Greg.
Yeah.
What's up, Greg?
Greg actually got chosen to create a collaboration beer with a local brewery, Spider Bite. And I think that's going to be coming out soon, right? Larry checked in earlier today. But yeah, there's a lot of, like you said before, the Brewers Association, the New York City Brewers Guild. We have very similar things out here on Long Island, with the home brewing clubs and stuff like that. It's a big support group to kind of figure out, our paths through all this and the reopening and what's going on. Yeah. What I want you guys to do is just give us the big, plug here about where people can get the beer, where people can find it, how they can order, how they can get through the next few phases, and what the kind of the future of the brewery is going to be in the next, let's say, 6 months. I hope things don't go backwards, but if they don't go backwards, what the next 6 months will bring.
Yeah, I mean, I think easiest for us, website is fiveboroughs.com. You can get to all of our social media from there. Order beer directly on the website for pickup or delivery, shipping within New York State. Stay tuned on our Instagram and Facebook. We always post about new beers, new releases, things like that. So we also have a newsletter which comes out. We try not to bother you too much with it, but it comes out just enough to keep us on your mind.
How do people get on the newsletter? Is it an email sign up?
Yeah, on our website, you can go to fiveboroughs.com and just plug in your email there. Come see us in the tap room. We'll be sure to post all the times and hours and rules and regulations as soon as it's all figured out. But I'd love to see folks out there in the tap room. Make a Brooklyn day out of it and hit a couple while you're there.
Not a bad idea.
It happens a lot.
Happy lager.
Yeah.
Come to us first, though.
Yeah. You don't want to open any more trunks. Yeah. You don't want to open any more trunks and seeing everyone else's beer in there. Like, God damn it, they could have got 2 cases from me, but now they're getting
That's
one
like
case.
a lot of my friends are always like, "Oh, we're gonna do a brewery crawl for my friend's birthday," and I'm like, "Cool." I was like, "Coming to us first."
Always first.
Yeah.
Always first. All right, so check them out. It's Five Boroughs Brewing Company, brewingco.com.
The website is fiveboroughs.com.
Fiveboroughs.com, okay.
Instagram is Five Boroughs Brewing.
Okay.
But one of those two will get you all the information. So.
Type it in the Google machine, and I think it'll be okay.
That'll work as well.
Paul, any words of wisdom moving forward here in the future of the company?
Words of wisdom.
Did I word that wrong?
5 Boroughs as you can. I'm the guy who wants to see the money come in. So
yeah.
Wash your fucking hands. Those are words.
Come down, order online, go down to from tap room anywhere.
Yeah.
Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, do it all. No. I think just as kind of a newer employee, and still became a fan of the brewery. I think it's just a good tasting experience for everybody. We've got something for everybody. We've got a nice array at all times, and just looking forward to feeling that energy again, seeing people in that space. And
I do have to say, I've known Paul for a while. He used to be a regular at our brewery in the tasting room. Him and his wife Rachel, and he always had great beer, and we would do bottle shares in the brewery, sometimes way too long. But once he got over to Five Boroughs, I was like, all right, well, if he's taking a job with these guys, they got something going on. And I was right. Everything I've had so far from Five Boroughs, great stuff. I'm actually happy that I was able to, have some of the beers right off the bat that were kind of new. And it's always just a great job by the brewers there. And I'm really interested to see where you guys are going to go.
Yeah.
Because you're already doing a great job. And I think, you could be the New York City brewery, man.
One day. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate those.
That will be your manifest destiny, as I said before.
Oh my God, that's a great term.
Yes.
Back from high school, huh?
That's a new beer, by the way. That's coming out soon.
Yes.
Label's already made.
Yeah. I won't ask for any royalties because I appreciate the beers that we got today. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's I'm here.
Great job, guys.
Thanks, Steve.
I appreciate breweries that do really good jobs on things, and again, my go-to, Tiny Juicy. I'll tell everybody that beer that's my go-to all the time now, man.
And I used to drink it all the time, but fuck that all day IPA shit. Tiny Juicy all day.
No, I like Tiny Juicy way better than Old Day.
Yeah, I agree. Nick, give us the last big plug for Rosies Draft Solutions. Where people can find you again.
Yeah, reopening is happening. So your favorite bar and restaurant, tell them to reach out to us. We'll hook them up, get them a deep clean so the tap lines are tasting good for you guys once we get back in there. Yeah, deep clean.
Wash your fucking hands, wash your fucking keg lines.
Yep, for sure. 2 priorities there, right?
Absolutely.
And rosiesdraftsolutions.com. Reach out to us on Instagram, Rosies Draft Solutions, and you can use that promo code WORT for 10% off of any of our services. So thanks for you guys for having me on. I appreciate that.
Thanks for sticking
around. Thanks so much for the support, Nick. Yeah,
I told you 2 hours goes really quick.
No, it did. I stayed on quick. I got caught up. I was really interested in. I actually have not had any Five Boroughs beer just yet. But I'm gonna.
We can change that.
Yeah, we'll send you some stuff out. I've been sending beer out to our sponsors illegally, but don't worry about it. Five Boroughs, guys, I'll take care of it. That's on me. That's all on me. Don't you worry about it. Listen, Paul, Kevin, thanks very much for coming on. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having us.
And explain a lot to the audience, and it'll be up on our podcast platforms tomorrow. It'll be on Spotify, it'll be on iTunes, Apple iTunes podcast. It'll be on the Hopped Up Network, which is our global network of podcasts from all over the country. all over the country and all over the world. Also be on the Laughable Lap for the comedy element, and of course on govsradio.com. And of course the video portion will be up on YouTube, as not only the live one went up on the Govs Radio channel, but of course on our channel, the Wort with Mike, Pete, and Steve. Gotta check it out on YouTube. Steven, any last words before we get out of here?
Yes.
Does it have to do with crack cocaine?
No.
Oh, good. All right, you got something new tonight. I like it.
Sometimes the cucumber's sweeter when you pickle it.
I don't know what that means.
I can only imagine. Steve, any last words before we get out of here?
That was it.
You mean Pete?
Oh, well, I'm sorry, Pete.
I'll give you another one.
There's too many people.
Don't forget
on
to have the vagina cut off your new dog, Mike.
Oh,
Have
my
your pet
God.
spayed or
Jesus Christ. Yes, I will get my pet spayed and neutered all at the same time.
It's in the goddamn contract.
It is in the contract, actually.
I know.
Again, guys, thanks a lot for joining us. The Wort with Mike, Pete, and Steve. GovsRadio.com. We out.
Well, that's 2 hours of your life that you'll never get back.
Are you kidding me? Please hang up and try again.
This has been The Wort on Govs Radio. I hope you're drunk enough.